So I know we're already quite into June, but I'm finally getting around to filming this one, and I wanted to share all of the books that I read for the May the Force Read with You Readathon and how I kind of did within my rankings. I'm going to start off and say that I did not complete everything I was hoping to, so unfortunately, I will not be a powerful sharpshooter master hunter. That was very ambitious of me to try and go for that, but I gave it a shot and didn't quite make it to the tier that I needed to for that. But I still had a great time with the books that I was reading and had a fun time, like kind of like making my character. So I did end up being a senior hunter because I got 8 points for doing certain prompts and like extras. I didn't manage to get any of the titles or monikers though. I aimed for one. I tried to do the one where it was reading 3 books fully within 7 days, and I got really close to doing it, but I was slightly over, so unfortunately I couldn't count that one. But a senior hunter is still a good one in my books. I'm happy with that. Marcus did complete everything. He was his character name is Fufu Flutterbutt, and he wanted to make it known that everybody should fear Fufu Flutterbutt. He was an Ewok Assassin Guild Master, and he managed to get 32 points. So, yeah, that is above and beyond. He went all out and did that, and so, yeah, good on him. But anyways, I'm going to share the books that I read for the different prompts. I'll say what prompt it was that I did it for, and then talk about how I felt about the book. So the first one was the species prompt, and that was Jawa. And so this one was to read either a mystery book or a book with shadows on the cover. And I chose Through the Midnight Door for this one. This was one of my NetGalley TBR books, and it was pretty good. I think I rated it, I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely intriguing, and it was more of like it gave me like Haunting of Hill House vibes. Not quite as like as intense as that one or like ghostly, but it definitely was a haunted house style thriller with other pieces at play that kind of like brought it all together in the end. And yeah, it starts off like with a banger because one of the 3 sisters ends up dying at the very beginning, and they die in that house. And this house, they had all like visited it as children, and when they went into the house, there were different doors that appeared for each of the girls, and they each went into one of the different doors, and something happened to all of them that day, but they don't talk about it between the 3 of them. They don't discuss what happened within each of their rooms. And now one of their sisters is actually killed by the house, or like the 2 sisters assume she's killed by the house because they found her in one of the rooms, and so the 2 sisters presume that something with the house happened and it brought her there to do that. So yeah, it definitely like dives into it, and you explore the storyline of the 2 sisters trying to figure out what happened to their other sister and what dark secrets are happening with this house. And I was all here for the vibes. Like I really like books that are about like haunted house style things. Like I don't know, it's always so creepy, and I was very into like the creepiness of it. And there was also just like you could see the characters slowly unraveling mentally and physically. So it was just interesting to see like how they processed everything that was happening and how it affected them. There was also some representation in here for the LGBTQ plus community as well, so I was very happy with that. And yeah, overall it was a good thrilling read, and definitely something that like kept my attention. The next one I did was Battle Meditation, and this was to roll a number generator between 0 and 3, and then whatever you get is the number of books you had to read. And I got the same number I rolled last time, which was 2. I had 2 books lined up for this that were both mysteries off of my NetGalley TBR, but in order to save time, I swapped one of them out so that it would be a little bit easier and did a graphic novel instead. And so I chose Aquaman Volume 4 Underworld. I've been reading different Aquaman graphic novels a lot this year, and this was the next one in the series, so I just wanted to jump into it. I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty action packed, and in this one, Arthur is kind of like presumed dead within Atlantis, and so someone else has taken over, and they're trying to rule in a way that's very different from what Arthur was doing. And so a lot of different communities kind of get like segregated within Atlantis, and this new ruler is kind of like taking charge in a way that is not really necessarily liked by everybody within Atlantis's society. That's a hard thing to say. And so Arthur is not actually dead, and he is kind of like helping out the underdogs within the society to get back to where he was, but also help them get through the situation that they're having to deal with now. This one also brings in some new villains, and you get to see Mera again in this one, and you get to actually see Aqualad make an appearance in this one too, which was really fun because he's off with like the Teen Titans and then comes in for a little bit. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely more action packed. Like this one was, I would say, less dialogue and more action scenes than the rest of them so far throughout this series. I was okay with that because I love the action scenes and just love marveling at the art of it. But yeah, this one was a good time. So then the other book I read for this was The Day He Never Came Home. This was on my Nakeli TBR, and so this is following a woman who her husband mysteriously like buys her a new house for her birthday. He's like, hey, it's your birthday, and takes her and surprises her with a purchase of a lake house. And then the following day, her husband doesn't come home from work and kind of just disappears. And then she gets a call from the FBI, who are looking for her husband because apparently his entire like existence, he's been running like a Ponzi scheme. And that's how he's been running his like consulting business. And his wife, who you're like following her story, she had no idea any of this was happening. And so now she's kind of like dealing with the media outrage towards that. All of his past clients are like upset with her, even though it's not her fault. Like she didn't do anything. She's dealing with taking care of her 2 kids and also trying to figure out what happened to her husband. And from there, you kind of like explore and see where it goes. This one, I think I would give probably a 3 out of 5 stars, just because it's told in dual perspectives. So you switch perspectives about halfway through, and a lot of the stuff that is in the second half, you already like kind of know what has happened because it's a perspective of another person that was like around for a lot of this stuff. So you're kind of getting like told the story twice. There was some new information in the second half. Like I will say that there was definitely some new information, but I think it could have been like cut down a lot so that we didn't have to read about the same scenes again. It reminded me very much of like when they did that with Twilight and like just swapped it to Edward's perspective, and it's like the same book, just a different perspective. Like it's not exactly necessary. There were, like I said, some parts that were necessary from the second perspective, but I don't think it fully was, like it didn't have to be that long. So yeah, that kind of like brought it down for me. And then the ending, I don't know if I was like overly fond of the ending. I was hoping it kind of went in a more intense direction than it did, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, that one's probably about a 3 star. Okay, so I just realized I'm actually a master hunter because I forgot to check one off on my list here, which puts me into the next bracket. So yes, I'm a master hunter, not a senior hunter. The reason being, I forgot to check off that I had done force healing, which is to read a book that has cozy vibes, or it's like a comfort read. And so for that, I read Heartstopper Volume 5, which is right here. And yeah, this was just so freaking cute. I loved it. I gave this obviously a 5 out of 5 stars. Like Heartstopper, this whole series is just beautiful. And I'm so happy to finally have this fit like Volume 5 edition, because I was just delaying ordering it because I needed to get the UK version. I know I've already talked to you about this in like other videos. So anyways, finally got it, read it through really quickly, and just loved it. I really liked this one a lot because you get to explore Nick preparing for college. Charlie's still a year younger than Nick, so he's not exactly going to college yet. But the two of them kind of have to like prepare for that relationship hurdle because they're going to be in different places. And so Nick's like trying to figure out what college he's going to go to. And it's a lot of like Nick coming into his own and being his own person. Aside from like him being in this relationship, like you get to see Nick be Nick. And so, yeah, I really liked that. I also really liked how Charlie makes a lot of progression with himself and his own like self-worth. You get to see that, and that's just amazing. These books are great for like dealing with mental health in a very healthy way. And yeah, I don't know. I loved it. It was just so friggin' cute and so adorable. And I'm gonna be sad when this series is over. Like, I'm gonna be really sad. I think there's only one more volume coming, and then that's it. And yeah, it's gonna hurt when it's over, but I'm glad I have them all, as you can see behind me. Now I can add this one to the shelf too. Then next up I had Force Barrier, and so that's to read a book with a cover you don't really like. And so I chose Milk and Honey because I just find this cover kind of boring. It's just whatever. Like, I wouldn't be drawn to this at the bookstore to pick up and buy. So yeah, I was like, okay, why not? Gave it a shot. This was a poetry collection. I don't read as much poetry, so it was fun to dive into poetry and just explore it. And a lot of this is about like female autonomy with their body. It was very like cool to see that written in like a poetic way. And there were lots of like illustrations in here as well to like tie in with each poem. And yeah, like it definitely gets the point across, and it is very gripping. I am excited to pass this on to somebody that I know that works at a used bookstore. I know they're really into poetry, so I'm hoping to give this to them, just because like I know they like these books. So yeah, but this one I would say it was probably one of the better poetry books I've read. So I would say this is a 4 out of 5. This book is also kind of like a journey because it's split into 4 different sections. So it's the hurting, the loving, the breaking, and then the healing. And so each one, the poems kind of like cater to that sort of topic. So yeah, that was like kind of a cool journey while reading the book. Then I went for a companion. So I did Fadier, which was to read a book with somebody that looks unhappy on the cover. So for this one, I read My Darling Dreadful Thing. This one was, I think I gave it a 3 or a 3.5. This one was about a girl who took part in like being the main part of seances. So her mom, I don't think it's her actual mom because this woman adopted her. Well, not even adopted her, just kind of like took her in when her parents passed away and used her as like the primary part of bringing people in for seances because they would like say that the spirits are coming through this girl. And so she would put on shows for people when they come in for a seance, but she could also see like a spirit creature that she called Ruth, and this was like her friend that was like a part of her day-to-day life. And so they did these like seances, but then one time somebody comes in, and I think her name is Agatha, I want to say, and her husband recently passes. And so she is here to like do a seance to see like if they can connect with her husband. And so they do the whole thing, and she ends up wanting to bring this main character back with her to her estate to live with her. And so that happens, and she ends up coming back to the estate to live with this woman. And it's just like a very like dark gothic book, I would say. It's very atmospheric with the way that like the surrounding of her estate is and what goes on there. And there's things involving like more ghost or like creatures other than Ruth, the one that's just attached with our main character, and you see them like come into play. I think for me, I was just hoping that it got darker faster. Like it definitely had a very dark undertone the whole time, but it's written in like a very like prosy, poetic, like flowery-ish writing, but then also dark at the same time. So I don't know. I was expecting it to like take some deeper, darker turns than it did. It was interesting though because at the same time, it's kind of like you're following two storylines. Like you're following this main storyline, but then there's also a secondary storyline that is happening that you know is in the future, and it's our main character being interviewed by like a detective, and this detective is like going through this interview process with her about things that happened in this like main storyline. So that was kind of cool, and the book definitely deals with like the topic of mental health. But yeah, it was an interesting one, but it lost my attention sometimes because of like how it was written, and so I think that's why it's probably like a 3 or a 3.5. But yeah, definitely interesting. And then the last one I read was for precognition, and this was to roll a die, and then whatever number you got, it specified like a letter you had to have as the first letter in the title. And so I rolled a 6, which meant I had to start with a T. So I did 13 Ways to Kill Lulabelle Rock. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. This was so much fun. I loved this one. This is by Angry Robots, and this is following the 13th clone of Lulabelle Rock, and her like life mission is to assassinate the rest of the clones. So she like you start off with her like just coming to life and starting her mission, and from there you see her like work on assassinating all the clones. It's really interesting because you get to see from like the clones' perspective, like how they are autonomous and how they perceive themselves and perceive what their life meaning is. And so from there, it definitely changes over time. It's also interesting to see their interactions with all the different Lulabelles and like see the different Lulabelles that were created for different reasons. Yeah, I thought this book was fascinating, and I would love to like read something else like this because it was really cool and it was fun, and it was just so like I love that this Lulabelle assassin was like so nonchalant about a lot of things, and it just made it so much more entertaining. But yeah, this was definitely like a really fun time. I could definitely see this being like a movie or a show or something like that. And those are all the books I read for the May the Force Read With You Readathon. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys participated in the readathon and how well you did, or what you ended up with as your like ranking and title. If you guys want to support me, I have a Patreon and a Ko-fi page, which I'll put in the description down below, as well as linked by my bookmarks. You guys know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button so you get notified when I post new videos. I post new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Until next time, keep on reading.